Code Interactive Stories. Today's guest is Michelle Ward, a pre-K to 8 teacher of computers, quite a big range. You can connect with her on Twitter at Shelly13Ward. It's also in the description. And together, we're just going to be exploring computer science and storytelling, kind of ways that we can introduce computer science to a wider range of students. So I'm going to give it away to Michelle to talk a little bit more about herself.
Hi, I'm from Tennessee and I'm in a small part of Northwest Tennessee. And it's my passion of trying to put computer science together with subjects that you would not think music, English language arts, PE, whatever, and trying to get more kids involved with it. I think we're limited to what we think computer science is. If we would just open our mind and just explore what we can put with computer science, just imagine how amazing it could be for our kids. And the main thing is, as a teacher, if you're new to computer science, hey, things are so much easier than what it was back in the day when I started. I started coding when I was 8 years old with assembly language, and it
Wow.
was it was it was through a game console called it was through Magnavox called Odyssey, and my parents had bought the Intro to Computer Programming cartridge for this game. Yeah, this predates the Atari, but it's about that same time. Most of y'all probably were not born then, but so yeah, I've been coding see, 40, about 43 years. So yeah, I'm an amateur, but I don't give up. And I never did get it to quite work right when I was 8 because the book was written in technical language. You didn't have a save feature back in the day. So when you turned it off, you had to start again. I still have the console, I still have the game, and haven't done it yet, but it's on my bucket list to reverse engineer because it won't work with the new TVs, but to reverse engineer it and get it finally to work. Right now, I code in JavaScript and Python. I just finally got through probably a beginner's level of Python, but I love to learn something new every day. I'm a knowledge seeker and a problem solver. So, and I try to share that with my students to push them, like, come on, give it a try. And once they give it a try, they get kind of hooked, but then they forget about me because they only see me about once a week because I teach 600 kids in 1 week. I
Wow.
have them for 45 minutes once a week. So it's a challenge, but it's one that I accept and I push computer science as much as I can. Haven't quite got administration on board, but this is going to be the year.
Definitely. Wow, that's really cool. Like we very rarely get teachers on that started computer science outside of, code.org. So that's really exciting for me. I actually so I was never a coder when I was growing up, but now I code obviously because of elementary and to develop it. But when I was growing up, I was more of like, the bookworm sort. I was the nerd that liked to read a lot. I like to participate in those what are they called? Those like forums where it's like role playing, but you role play as a specific character and you can write
Mm.
down like, oh, what the character thinks, like kind of like fan fiction, but like with a group of people. And so yeah, to be able to maybe include coding into that sort of sphere, I think is really important because when I was growing up, coding was still kind of like kind of geeky and kind of nerdy and not really that attractive actually. Like I'd be like, do I want to be in the robotics team? Nah.
And I was such a nerd. Even I took basic programming language in high school, and I was such an introverted nerd. I didn't even realize we had a computer club. And I was talking to my I was talking to my best friend the other day. Who went to high school with me. I was like, "Did you know we had a computer club?" And she's like, "We did." I'm like, "Yeah. How did we miss that? We were in computer class, but no one told us that we had a computer club, and that was." 1980 something, 1985, 86. So yeah, it's been a while.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So really cool. So yeah, we kind of talked a little bit about kind of these like preconceptions of what coding is. And I just want to ask kind of what kind of coding activities do you do with your students currently, since you did say that it's not really like a computer science class per se, but it's just more like since you see so many students, how do you actually do it?
Well, I do use, we do Hour of Code every year, and I look forward to it. I've been doing that since, I guess, since the beginning. I might have missed the first year, and I don't really remember how I found out about code.org. It's just one of those random emails that you get, and I was so thankful that I read it because it changed my life. And I've been with them from the get go, and I'm also a teacher ambassador for a company named Code Monkey. So we do a lot of coding with Code Monkey. We do a lot of coding with Code.org. I tried the Coder Z challenge. I think one time I can't, and I think that was 2 years ago. So we did that. Um, I just try to do things and, I'm a little eccentric, and so I don't always do things in the order that most people do. I kinda just whatever kind of mood I'm in, and of course, usually it's my second graders, I'll walk in, if I have on my Code Monkey shirt, they'll just all just start, Code Monkey." So, you can't you gotta do it, and I like doing it when we have some of those crazy days when nothing goes right and you just need a break from the normal, and I like to throw it in there where it's not part of their usual.
Hmm.
We may be in the middle of PowerPoint and I just need a break from PowerPoint because coding's my passion. I'm like, I'll just sneak in one day, like, okay, we're going to code today. And they're like, oh, we get to code. And it's so nice to see their faces light up. I actually had a second grader that was coding in Python. And I told him, like, this is a little too tough for you. He was already on level 5. He's like, I just don't know what the big words mean. Can you read me what the big words mean? So I found that my mindset had to change a lot because I just thought they were too little to understand this. And I finally just decided, I'm changing that mindset. I'm going to challenge them. If they want to do Python in second grade, then I will let them do Python in
Hmm.
second grade. You just don't know. You may have a little genius kid in your classroom, and just because you think they're too little to do it, you are squelching that what they can be, and that's just I just pretty much my classroom looks like total chaos most days, but that's just me. I may have some of them doing one thing on a different platform. I know I need to get something kind of together, but we don't really have a curriculum in our school yet. So I've been
Well,
kind of
everything
been
going on.
well, I'm actually in charge of recess right now because they can't figure out a quick and efficient way to clean and sanitize the keyboards and the mice in my classroom without frying the circuitry on it. So
Yeah, that's really tough. I'm assuming you're going back face to face then. Is that correct? Or hybrid?
we start face as far as we know face to face on Monday, but it's always subject to change
Yeah.
because the numbers are going up in our county.
Hmm.
And we just play it day by day, and I keep thinking maybe it'll rain and I'll have them inside, and then I can do some of these unplugged activities that I have for computer science where you don't have to have a computer. I think I said this. We had, if you went to the CSTA virtual conference, I had mentioned that at the conference that you don't have to have a
Hmm.
computer to do computer science. And once we get over that, they're like, "No, you really don't, do you?" I'm like, "No, we can look in computational thinking and create a story on paper." And that's what one of my unplugged activities is about, that ties into English language arts, where they have already written a story in English language arts, some type of a hero and villain story. That's always good to have. Kids can write those kinds of stories and have it already hashed out in English class, and then bring it on over to computer science and art and actually draw out those characters. You don't have a computer at home, that's okay. We can still go through it, make some stick puppets with them, and I've got it kinda in the activity where it talks about the computer vocabulary involved, and I sneak it in, and then I'll throw the word out there, and then I'll kinda go back and kinda explain it where everyone can understand it and said, "Okay, this is an algorithm." And it's like, "Oh, oh, she pulling out the big words. And then I'll kind of go back into, yeah, it's like putting on your clothes in the morning. It's a certain order. You don't put your socks on after you put your shoes on, or you're gonna look kind of funny if you do. And but once I figure like, okay, it's just that, nerdy speak, big word, and that's what my activity is kind of about. It hasn't been really tested yet. I wrote it this summer, so I'm hoping I might get to test it out on kids this year. I also have a Flipgrid QR code at the end of it. If you decide to do it, hey, uh, I don't know. It's not kid tested, so I don't know. It may be one that may flop on me. I don't know. It's just something that I thought sounded good in my head, and I decided, okay, I'm going to write this up and put it out there for teachers. And I'm open to suggestions. I think we should collaborate together as educators, because sometimes what one person sees may help something else become better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that sounds great. So we're going to actually take a look at how we can kind of take some parts of your unplugged activity and turn it into a story on elementary. In particular, I think in this session, so Michelle mentioned that she has tweens that are kind of unengaged and go figure. they're no longer
Oh.
they're no longer second graders excited about everything and anything in life. And so, yeah, we're going to see if we can find some way to kind of engage these tweens, which will be really fun. So, in order to get started on elementary, I'm going to ask Michelle to go and share her screen. She's already created an account on elementary, so the website is on the screen, as you can see. And when she's done sharing her screen and getting into her first story, we're just going to go and kind of explore together. She's never really seen it before, so we'll just check it out. Great, so here we are in elementary, and she's already added one of these anime style looking characters onto the page. So when I talk to a lot of like teen librarians or teachers of teens, and especially like just talking to myself, in my head, back when I was a kid, I was obsessed with like anime, manga, sort of dramas, adventures, all sorts of things like that. And we actually have quite a large stock of images from professional like illustrators who illustrate for indie visual novels like the one that you see above. So let's take a look at the images. If you click on images, we can actually filter through, I think humanoids, I think would be a good one. So you go to category in the drop down, and there is, yeah, we can go to humanoids, and we'll see a whole bunch of different types of characters. We have quite a lot by one artist named Yusui, I think. I don't know. He's Japanese. So if you're not familiar, visual novels are a genre of video games, and they are narrative by nature. So the whole point of this video game is literally to have a story, tell a story, and there's usually multiple endings depending on the choice that you make within the story. So a typical example would be like, a high school drama, new girl comes into school, she needs to, figure out what to do in her school, maybe meet, new friends, maybe a boy, and see what happens in her, school life. So school drama is really popular. You also have, just adventure RPG style. RPG stands for, role-playing games. So anything that's related to high fantasy, magic, that sort of stuff, then those are all pretty great. So yeah, she already found some characters that she likes. And okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is just kind of show you how you can change the image. So I haven't done this before yet. And yeah, you could flip it if you want so it faces the other way. Yeah. So typically, maybe in these sort of visual novels, they have a kind of template of what it typically looks like. You would have, the narration or the narrator of what's going on at the bottom. And you maybe have, some speech bubbles of what the characters are going to say, just like a comic book or a graphic novel. So let's see if we can do something like that. Yeah, you can get some speech bubbles maybe. So this can be scaffolded to quite a few different levels because, as you can tell, right now we're not actually coding anything. It's just literally a PowerPoint for the most part. You're just making your little picture book and making things kind of pretty. And depending upon your student's coding level, they can do quite a lot of things. So, for example, maybe you might want the dude to say something and then the girl to respond. You might want to add voiceovers to help with that process because it's always fun to, drag your friend over and tell him to record a voiceover for your particular character. Be like, I need a boy, and then grab some poor lad to come over to voice your character. Some other things that you can do are to change the character, the sprite. So we typically say, like in games, we have characters and they're called sprites. This is usually referring to 2D kind of games, and you can change the characters, expressions. So each of these characters have, I think, I don't know, 6 to sometimes 10 different facial expressions, and you can kind of change that. So yeah, you could just type something in. It doesn't have to be anything. Be like something dramatic. You don't know how many new girl in school stories we have. It's like pretty dramatic. It's like by all sorts of different people, but they all have like the same kind of theme of like being the new girl in school. For younger kids, like I would say like, 3rd grade, we tend to have a lot of will you be my friend sort of stories. Or I'm looking for a friend. Yeah. So yeah, let's actually let's add a background image because we can, so it looks kind of pretty. So you underneath, yeah, right there, you click on backgrounds, and then we have a whole bunch of background images you can choose, and then you could just click on it or drag it over to the page. So okay, great. So how are you doing over there?
Doing good. Of Cortana would stay away. That's something new. I gotta figure that one out.
Okay, so we're gonna now code, and in order to code, we need to go to the event graph. So every page on Elementary has 2 sides. The front side, which is the layout that you design, and you're already ahead of the game. You just press that button. It flips the page around to the back side, and you'll now see a grid. So we code using visual coding. It's a node-based visual program. The node-based visual programming language. Oh my god, too many words. And that just basically means we connect the nodes together. So something typical would be, maybe having the character fade in, then the other character fade in, and then maybe the speech bubble fade in as a third. So that would be a sequence of functions. You'll notice we have all of the computer science vocabulary. So we sneak it in. And yeah, we're just gonna grab the fade block. Yeah, you can also click on the blocks to add them to the page. And yeah, so we have a function, and now we need an event. So you can have a couple events, or we could just do like on page start to have everything kind of fade in sequence.
Do they link together, or you just put them on the same page and they work together?
No, you have to link them together. So
Okay.
on page start, so the event
Mhm.
should be on the left, and it should just kind of go left to right like a flow chart.
Okay.
So you'll notice that it's like the blocks look a little different than like Blockly or code.org, things like that. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with like Unreal Engine or Unity, but both of them are game development engines.
Okay.
So they don't snap, like you just connect by dragging the triangle. of the white triangle, dragging the
Like,
white triangle. No, 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 you just drag it,
okay.
drag the white triangle.
Ah.
Yeah. So what I notice is when people come from a code.org sort of background, they want to snap their blocks together because they haven't seen this sort of coding
No,
before.
that goes back to the days when we used to use a template to plan out a computer programming uh, solution. So yeah, that takes me back a few years, a few decades, but I
Yeah.
like it. I
Yeah.
like it.
It's actually used. So I bring up Unreal Engine and Unity because those are big game development engines. They're probably like
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest ones for creating games. And both of them now have a visual coding environment built into their software. And it looks very similar to this.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll show you a little bit later, or if I could bring it up, you can take a look. But let's just continue. So maybe we can get the object now. So on page start, you want to take the object you want to fade in.
Mm, so
So you would then connect the object to the fade block.
okay.
So you would just connect the purple circle
Ah,
to the purple
gotcha.
circle. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Does it matter where you put it? Is it better to put it near it or
So I like to put it underneath the
gotcha.
on page start kind of, yeah, on the a little bit to the left, simply because that way when you make
Gotcha.
the connections, they don't like cross like this.
Gotcha.
And yeah, this is a good way to also kind of show students how flowcharts kind of work and how kind
Mm.
of pseudocode kind of work because most people, when people think that we code, a lot of people think that we just go straight to the keyboard and then we just start like typing away like a ninja and we're like la, 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 and then like code magically appears on the screen. But like most people don't code like that. They first, lay it out the logic on paper in a flowchart sort of format before choosing what language they want to deal with, what libraries they want to use. So yeah. So yeah, we can try it out. So you can press preview. You don't have to go to layout. You could just press preview directly.
Okay. I see it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so he faded in at the same time that the preview was fading in, so it was a little hard to see. But let's try sequencing the rest so you can see how the code kind of works.
Okay.
And also, while you need to grab a couple more fade blocks, a couple more objects. And
Okay.
while you do that, I just want to show you Unity Bolt. So here you'll see like Unity is the game development engine I told you about. And I actually just found out that it was last couple months ago. They now have all the plans come with this flow graph. So it looks kind of like this. See if I can make it bigger for people to see. Or maybe not. Maybe this is not the best way of doing it. But you can see like you have little blocks and you connect the blocks together. And this is very similar to Unreal Engine Blueprint. So Unreal Engine, I always bring it up because a lot of people have this misconception that visual coding is just for babies and real coding is Python and JavaScript, and like you're not a real coder until you code in those languages. But what we really care about is just the fact, what we really care about is the product that you make at the end, for the most part. And so you have, this is Unreal Engine, it's called Blueprint, or they also have a thing called Event Graph. And it's just basically opening the doors to allow more people to be able to create professional games. And this is from indies all the way up to the big blockbuster sellers. So I always like to kind of make that connection, which I think is kind of nice for just everyone, like parents, students, just to see how it all works. Um, okay, great. So yeah, so what you did here, so this is great. So what you did here is you're saying on page start, you're going to fade in the boy, and then on page start, you're going to fade in the girl. So this works. And if you preview it, you'll have both of them fade in at the same time. So you can also, yeah, so let's preview that and see if it will. Okay, so let's try, I think it's fading in at the same time. If you try having a new page, let's add a new page so we can better see the animation. So you add a new page by going to the left-hand side. There's a plus page button. Yeah, right there. Let's add a new page. So that way we can, yeah, you could start the preview here. And then, okay, so now just swipe left, oh, sorry. So when you press preview, try navigating to the previous page in the preview. So that way we can see the animation better. Because I think what's happening is the fading is occurring at the same time when
there it is.
There we go. So both of them are fading in at the same time. So another way you can actually program this is by using the same on-page start block if you want them both to fade in at the same time.
Okay.
And yeah, then you can then make the connection and tell students, oh, like what you're doing is you're executing two functions at the same time, which means you're executing them in parallel or, concurrently. Those are all vocabulary words you can use. So you can.
So I can make image one connected to the same fade block.
You can also
here.
do that too. Yeah, you can do that too. So you can, if you want both of them to fade in at the same time, you could just get rid of that connection. So click on the line. Yeah, there. And then you could delete the line.
Okay.
And then you can connect it to the first fade.
Aha.
Yeah. So then here you have one function with two objects doing things. So this is if you want them both to do the same function. So actually, let's get rid of the on-page start block. So delete that. And let's try to fade in the speech bubble after your characters fade in.
Okay. Do I need to change the start time on it, or is it going to automatically fade in afterwards?
So this is you're going to grab the white triangle of the first, of this one. Drag this, yeah, and then you're going to connect it to the right hand triangle of the fade block, the first one, yeah, that one. So you're going to follow the white triangles.
Got it.
To find the flow. So the white lines are the flow.
Okay.
So you would go, on page start, the first thing you're going to do is fade. Then you're going to fade again.
Got it. Trying to clean it up a little bit where it looks a little better, but we got it. All right, so let's need to preview it yet?
Yeah, you could preview it again. See if the animation likes this a little bit better. Okay, great. So you have the fade in from the people, and then the speech bubble fades in. So you can also change the direction that it fades in. So right now it's just fading in directly. There's no movement. But if you click on the little tab there, you can choose to, bring them up, or you can choose to, go in from the left, things like that. So that one, the animation was kind of wonky. Let's go to the next page and go back.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a little bit funky. It might be the CPU is like not happy too much.
It may, yeah, I'm using my school computer, so it may not be all that.
Yeah, like the animation frames seem to be skipping a little bit. No problem. So what I really want to focus on is now changing the image because I think that's really fun. So let's say I want to click on maybe the girl and have her, have a different expression or something like that. So you can move the grid up so you have more room, and you can also make it full screen by clicking on the full screen icon next to the trash can. Yeah. So that way you have just more space. So we're going to grab an event, and this time the event is going to be on click once. So when you click on it once, you want to change the image. So this only happens if a single character has multiple expressions. You can't change to any image. Yeah, perfect.
And put it down there twice.
Yeah, I think when it goes full screen, it doesn't like putting it in the right position.
All right. Let me move me out of the way.
Okay.
All right.
So we can use the same girl object, and we're gonna say when we click on this girl object, yeah, so when we click on her, make it so people can actually see the right side. Yeah, so when we click on her, we want to now use the function called change image, I believe. Or change, is it change image? Change costume? I don't remember off the top of my head. Let me look it up. Might be at the top. That's, what is it called? Change image. It's called change image. And it's, it might be at the bottom, or I don't know where it is. Near blinking. Okay, great. So now you're going to say, okay, so when I click on this image, I want to change the image. Okay, so when I click, yep, that's right. So I'm gonna actually make me go out of the way so that way people can see.
I think I connected this in the wrong spot.
No, so, you got it right, I think.
Did I connect it right? I connected it to the to the orange block. Was the image should be connected to the green block?
Yep, that's right. So you're saying on click. So when you click on this image, you want to change the image. And right now we need an image object connected to the function. You notice that there's a purple, little lonely purple circle. So in this case, we want to change the girl image
to a different image.
Yeah, so all you have to do is just connect the girl.
Okay. Do I need to disconnect the
connected? No. You keep that connection. You keep that connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I connect this one also.
Yes.
From here.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. Oh.
It's a little
no.
Maybe try first.
Let's move you. Oh, wait a minute.
I think it's because you are selecting it and it didn't like that. So try clicking on the grid first. Clicking on the grid. Click out.
There we go.
Yeah, and then now try connecting it.
You got it.
Yeah, perfect. So what this is saying is when I click on the girl, I want to change the girl image. And now we need to select an image. So you click on the drop down It should have a couple selections. Does something appear? Yep.
Yes.
So now you can choose which image you want to change it to. So you can have her, I don't know, grimace or be like, I don't want to talk to you, boy. Who are you? Yeah, so you could just select one that you want.
Okay.
And then, yeah, once you select it, just click on it and then you can exit out.
Okay.
And it should set the image. So it should no longer say selected image.
Okay. Got it.
All right, great. Okay, I'm like on the wrong page. Okay, sorry. I was like on the stream. I'm like, I don't see you selecting an image. It's like, oh, it's because it's laggy. That's why. Okay, perfect. Right. So now you go back out of full screen. Let's try it and let's
preview.
Preview. Yep.
Out of the way. Ah, it comes up again.
Yeah, so now you'll notice that the girl is now blinking, and when you click on her, she will bounce and have a different expression like that.
Oh, this is driving me insane. No, Cortana, I don't want your new edition. It wasn't doing that yesterday.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. And basically the applications can be then whenever you click on something, it can change the image. You can also maybe fade in another speech bubble. You can add a voiceover. You can do lots of things that are storytelling. And this is all pretty basic coding. So it's not anything too complex. It's just applying it in a kind of more visual novel sort of format. So we have a couple of pretty fun visual novel sort of stuff that were made. Let me find one for you and then I can share that with people. Let's see, they have one.
Almost Little Red Riding Hood, a choose your own adventure. Click Start Reading to begin.
Okay, so I'm going to share. So here is one, and I can start reading.
Once upon a time, there lived a little girl. This girl wore a red riding hood at all times. That's why everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood.
And you know what I really love about this is that our students are so into video games.
I need to visit my grandmother.
I think this is an old book, so it's kind of funky.
Little Red Riding Hood's grandmother was ill.
They wouldn't care.
So
it's still a video game
into
them.
Food and herbs for her to deliver.
It's awesome.
Sweetie, don't forget to pick a snack from the table. Okay, I'm coming.
And you know, you could probably use this as a teacher as a way to introduce new computer science concepts
on the kitchen table
as a teaching tool to kind of engage the students.
Her little basket.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely see that. When we see like a lot of teachers wanting now to use it as virtual escape rooms, like creating that. So because you could do like choices like this, and then depending on your choice, then something happens in the story. So this is a very old book. It's like one of the oldest ones, like 2 years ago. So it's kind of a little bit funky as we made changes to the code base. So one that student made, this one actually works really well, is I always like to showcase this one. This one is just choose your own adventure.
This story is auto, so you shouldn't have to flip the pages. Big thanks to Miss D for getting me on this, and this book is dedicated to Arwen.
I don't know if you hear the music. I'm sharing the sound with you via Zoom.
I can't hear the music.
Okay, let me see if I could do that. Advanced sharing options. Oh, it's because I'm not sharing my screen. That's why.
Oh, let me stop sharing mine. That's why. There.
Okay, so let me see if I can share. Can I share my screen with you? There you go.
I can hear it now.
So you could choose whether you want to go in or not. Yes or no. Yes. Stay or leave. I want to stay. So this was done by a 5th grader. So I thought that was pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of the old click-based games that came out in the early 90s.
Yeah, so yeah, you can make those point and click sort of games. Those are pretty fun, and you can also create like just pretty fun stories overall. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to share with you. I don't know if you have any questions at this point. We only did a very short, brief section, but I think the change costume is super fun.
You have definitely got my interest in this. I really love this, and I love what you've done with this. I think it's going to be monumental for computer science education as a way to get kids really involved with it, because they can lose themselves in this and they get to express themselves. And then after that, they can make it interactive through coding, and it's not that difficult. So I know they may not believe me, but all I did was create an account before I came on here. So I'm a complete newbie.
Yeah, that's why I like having people just come in who don't really know anything, and then we could just kind of start problem solving together and understanding how it works. We're hoping in the future we're going to have a debug mode, so that way you can actually see when the animation is playing, which blocks light up. So visually you could connect your functions lighting up with the animation or with whatever you're doing. So that's hopefully something that we'll do in the future. We're really excited about that because I think that would be a really innovative way to really show kids like how their code step by step, function by function translates into the final project. And yeah, I'm hoping that we can do a lot more and just get more kids and teachers also interested. Like most of the teachers now, I have kind of some of the teachers I have booked are going to be like English teachers that have zero understanding of coding or like almost zero interest in coding for that matter, but they see it as just a means of expressing yourself and getting their kids engaged, and that's pretty much how it works. And then I sneak the coding vocabulary in on the side.
I try to do that with them in my school, but they know, like, oh no, here she comes. She's going to talk that nerd speak again. And oh yeah, you should have seen the first year I started. I mean, I did not really know what I was doing with elementary kids, so I was bumping around because they were testing in my room, and so I was having to bump around from room to room. We hadn't quite figured it out of how things are going to work with me there, and so I was in the classroom teaching them all about, this is a gigabyte and no, yeah, I had the whole board filled up going from a byte all the way, till I ran out of board space, and just explaining things, but I was probably explaining it at a too tough of a level. And that was one thing that they said, that I was using language not appropriate for grade level. I'm like, I'm sorry, an algorithm is an algorithm is an algorithm. It doesn't matter what grade you're in. It's just you have to teach them the language and try to put a visual with it and explain it to them.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's it's important to understand the vocabulary, especially if you're planning to use it. I tend to just use the more basics sort of vocabulary, like what's a function? Well, we use it in math also. What's a variable? We use it in math as well. Computer science language doesn't come from thin air. It was very recent that computer science ever existed, so we took language that made sense. Most coders don't like making things difficult. They like it to say it as it is, to declare it as simple as possible. And yeah, I always like to use the example of how we use template variables. So I'll just show you really quick on how we do that. We have an example for that, but really you can create a story in which let me find how to share my screen again and get everything working. Okay, my browser is here. I'm gonna, well, you can see my browser, right? So, can you? It's okay. All right, great. So basically, maybe one thing, we have a tutorial for this, so we have different step-by-step tutorials. But maybe like at the start of the student's game or visual novel, typically you want to ask the player what their name is, right? So first thing is we would need to have an input. And I actually had an episode on creating Mad Lib stories with Julia for her students to just introduce the concept of variables through like not as we see it usually done in math, which is like with distance or with a score, but with English language arts like adjective or a verb. So what is your name? So this would be like your input, and this would be maybe more like your response. So we use template variables, and we use curly bracket notation. So when I talked about these curly bracket notation, I mean the official term would be like, oh, this is a template syntax. But we don't really care about that. And I say you can use the term mustache because that is a technical term because there is a library called Mustache JS library, and it uses this template syntax notation. So I just say, yeah, use the mustache. It works. And basically, you can do things like, on my case, I want to do on text input. I want to grab my text field. And first of all, I need to create a variable. I'm getting way too ahead of myself. So first, I need to declare a variable. We have different variable types. We only have 3 because we don't want to make things too complicated. But we have text, a boolean, so true, false, and number, which is like if you want to do a score. So in our case, we want to have a text variable. We want to declare it, so add a new variable. In my case, I'm going to call it name because name makes sense, and it needs to match whatever I put inside the template syntax, the mustache essentially. So whatever I put inside the mustache. If I put name 1 here, I would have to, of course, change this so that it reflects the same thing. So on text input, so now I declared my variable. Right now it's empty, it doesn't have anything. And what I want to do is I want to set the variable equal to the text object. So variable equal to, which text object am I referring to? I'm referring to the one I just finished typing it. And then I want to choose my variable, in this case name 1. And when I preview, it'll say hello and nothing, because there's nothing at the beginning. And then I'm going to say Nicole. And I'm going to say Michelle, like that. So that's kind of how we introduce variables. And then you can use this variable, because it is a variable, throughout the story. And so then you can say, like something very standard in a visual novel would be, something like this. One day, name entered the new school, Highland High. Name was very, shy and didn't have any friends, something like that. And then when I preview it, I want to say, I don't know, my name's going to be my name is going to be Sarah. Oh, it's because I did not use the same variable name. So I use name 1, and here I use name because I changed it. So I have to change it to name 1 to make it work. And name 1, important. Okay, let's try again. I was like, why is it not working? It's because
capitalization or lack of does matter.
Does matter, yes. So this one works, this one doesn't really work. Let's figure out why that's the case. Oh, it's because I don't have curly
You didn't.
brackets after.
Yeah, you didn't. You didn't. You only have half a mustache.
I only have half a mustache. Yeah, so notice
And
I make mistakes too. So
and me being the computer applications nerd, you can tie that into doing a field whenever you're doing a mail merge because that's what you're inserting as an actual field.
yeah, so yeah, if you're doing anything with marketing, then this is like your best friend.
Oh yes,
Dear
Yes.
Mr. or dear title, last name.
Yes.
I am informing you about insert company name.
See, I do the same thing whenever I create username and password cards. I make them for kindergarten, well, pre-K, kindergarten, first and second grade, and I just put their names in an Excel document and then do mail merge. You know, uh, people look at me like in awe. I'm like, and you don't know how to do mail merge? It's really easy. It's a time saver.
Yeah, mail merge is pretty great. So if you don't know how to mass email people, look it up.
Yeah, or
because
contact us. We'll show you how.
yeah, look it up, contact us, we'll show you how, because I can't imagine being like a teacher of 600 kids and being like, I need to type each individual email
Oh.
in.
I even learned in Excel how to use a concatenate feature in order for it to create the username that the IT guys set up based off of their first name, their middle initial, and their last name. So I've got it set up where it calculates that also, so I don't have to enter that in. All I got to do is put their name in, and if I can get the roster in the right, I don't know. Sometimes it will copy paste over. Sometimes it won't. So yeah, and I'm the typing teacher, and I hate to type. Work smarter, not harder. So I'm going to find a way to do it in the least amount of keystrokes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's also why, like on elementary, our blocks are more global. It's like I want it to bounce. Whereas if you wanted to do it in Scratch, or if you wanted to do it by hand, you would have to say, move X pixels up, move X pixels down, and then since we have, I think our bounce has a bit of acceleration, then you would have to figure out that yourself, and it's just too much work. What you really care about is to create a story that looks really good, not about figuring out how exactly to move things the right way. So that's why our fade also has similar things, left to right, right to left. All kind of done.
Also that takes away some of the stress from kids. Sometimes I think if you have too many choices, it's overwhelming, because I've tried to do a little bit with Scratch with them, and you just see that look of like, oh, it's where do I start? And I'm like, okay, just keep it simple, and we can do this. But oh yeah,
yeah, like for example, fade was really difficult on Scratch or encoding, because you would have to first hide everything at the beginning. And if you have a lot of objects on the page, like if you have, like even with us, if we have 3 objects that you want to fade in, you would have to hide all 3 objects on page start, and that can get kind of annoying.
Oh yeah. And some people have problems doing that with animations on PowerPoint. I'm like, okay, you can't have the object there first, or it's going to come in twice when you're trying to do a fade. They're like, huh? I'm like, okay, just trust me. You're going to mess up by doing it that way.
Yeah, so anyway, I don't know if you have any last questions about anything. We kind of just went through a lot of coding. Do you have any questions?
No, I just really love it. I love how everything is right there. It's got you may not know it, but it's got old school stuff in there. So it warms my heart that all those days of having to trace stuff out with a template, hey, we're still doing it. And I just really like it. I can see where it can be used both as a student and as a teacher. And one of my favorite teachers of all times, that's how she had us in the palm of her hand, by telling a story. And there's so much that you can telling a story can really empower you as a student and also as a teacher. And it's just kind of, drawing them into a different world. And once
Mhm.
you get them doing that, I mean, they don't even realize that they're even coding.
Mhm.
And it takes away that stigma of like, oh, this is something tough. I've got to learn all these programming languages in order to do this. Well, that comes later. If we can get you hooked in kindergarten, first and second grade, we got you.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I always like I started using kind of like this analogy of like when we say coding is a language, we really mean that in the sense of
Mhm.
when we write, yes, it's important to learn how to use the right grammar and to make a sentence properly. But the true beauty of writing is to really communicate something. It's to create a
Yes.
project. And the true
Yes.
beauty of coding is to create a project and to communicate something. It's not, can I make, I don't know, like my robot go from A to B. Like this is a good example. It's a good
Right.
exercise, but it's not. It's like when we do our exercises in English class and we have to, fix our commas and capitalize the right letters and figure out how to use certain vocabulary in our sentences. It's the same type of thing, but the true beauty of English and the true beauty of any language is to really communicate and to create a project, and that
Yes.
takes time.
Mhm.
And that's another thing that I want to really also push for just teachers and students to know is like to create a project is not really just it's like a 1 hour thing. Yeah, you can introduce it in a 1 hour thing, but the real goal is to get kids to be hooked so they can continue
Oh,
at
yeah.
home, so that they can continue learning at home, so that they can continue building something that's personal, meaningful, and relevant to them, that they can then share because
Share.
yeah, the stories when they're published, they can be public, they can be shared to the public. So you just take the
That
link and
that
you
and they have
share
that
it.
they have that chance to share it and hook another kid on computer science.
Yeah, yeah.
It sometimes it's that awe factor of like, "You made this? Oh, wow. Show me how you did that."
Yeah.
And then, you just kinda and you don't wanna just tell them exactly what to do. You just kinda lead them a little bit and let them
Mhm,
explore on their own, and then, they sometimes may find something that you didn't see in the beginning, and
mhm,
that's what I love about it. It's not like the linear games that we used to play. You have a whole universe of computer science and something that you can do with this, and you just don't know. It just amazes me what some of these kids can come up with, and I think that we don't challenge our kids enough.
mhm.
And this is one way that you can do that, and I applaud you. I really love this.
Okay, great. So I think that's it from us at least, and I believe we have guests lined up next week already. But if you are interested in being a guest, please reach out to me. Oh, we still have some spots open, maybe at the end of this next week and also the following week. And as you can see, we kind of do everything, coding, grammar, whatever, like all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, thanks for watching and thanks for joining us. And we'll see you another time. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.